Hello and welcome to a beautiful summer's day here in Scotland. There's nothing quite as exciting on a summer's day than doing a spot of macro photography. But not only am I doing macro photography today, it's also really exciting because I currently have the brand new Nikon Z macro 50mm lens. I've only got it on loan for 2 weeks, so my time with this lens is very precious. But today I'm going to head out for what is only the second time I've used this lens to try and test it out, to see what I can capture, to uncover a hidden world within this woodland scene here. And yeah, see what I can capture with this brand new lens for the Z cameras. So without further ado, let's go and explore and let's go and see what I can find. So it's been a little while since I last did macro photography, and as a result I'm a little bit rusty. That and the fact that it can take a little bit of time to get used to a new lens, I think we've all been there. But this is really exciting because, as many of you will know who follow this channel regularly, recently I've been starting to do slightly different types of photography. I've been starting to be more mindful with what I'm shooting. I've been starting to look for images that aren't necessarily your stereotypical shots, and I've been beginning to photograph things that the majority of people would just walk past, in amongst all my usual landscape photography that I normally do. I think one of the great things about macro photography is that it forces you, of course, to look more closely to what you're walking past and more closely to nature. And I just love that because it opens up so many new and exciting photographic opportunities. So as I said already in the introduction, this is the second day I've used this lens, and the first day it took me a little bit of time to get to grips with the lens. I managed to get some interesting shots of some bugs on some flowers. The main thing that really intrigued me was I was looking at some thistles when I was walking across a path, and through the macro lens I was able to see these tiny strands of spider webs that were going in amongst the shapes within the thistle, and I just couldn't see that with the naked eye. Even by getting down low and trying to look really deeply at the thistle, I still could barely see these strands of spider web. So it just reminded me of how exciting macro photography is and how it opens up these new worlds of photographic opportunities that we just can't really see with our naked eye. So today I'm going to walk around and try and get something a little bit different. I'm still going to be photographing bugs and insects, but I'm also probably going to shoot some of the bark on the trees, some of the grasses, just anything that I come across. And I've deliberately come to this woodland and sort of country park area because there's an abundance of interesting macro photography opportunities here. So let's continue my walk and see what I can capture today. What's so exciting about macro photography is that things that you wouldn't really consider shooting suddenly come to life. So we're now kind of getting towards the end of summer, and because of that there's a lot of weeds and things growing around paths and woodlands, and especially a lot of nettles and things like that. Now nettles are something I wouldn't normally consider shooting. It's something I'd just walk past and I'd be looking more at the trees and all the more prominent aspects of the landscape. But the great thing about macro is that things such as weeds and nettles suddenly get a new lease of life. And I've just been looking at these nettles here, and within them there's a number of small flies. There's a spider as well, just sitting underneath one of them waiting for its prey, and trying to then frame that and capture it as the nettles move slowly in the breeze. It's very tricky, but it's also a very interesting mindful task that just takes your mind off of everything and really allows you to you know, hone in on something different and come away with photographs of things that, as I say, you wouldn't normally think to shoot. So yeah, it's exciting. And I've just got some shots of a spider, and I've also just taken some shots of one of the trees up there as well, and it's just opened up a new world for me, a new world of interest, and yeah, it's super exciting to be able to capture it. Now, my channel is not about gear, but I'm sure there's a few people watching this video today who are probably quite interested in this lens specifically. So what I just wanted to say quickly was that what I love about this lens is the fact that, I mean, as you can see, it is really small, it's really compact, easy to take around with you. It's also very lightweight, which is great as well. And as you can see, hopefully, when you start zooming in and out with this lens, what's so exciting about it is that you've got these different, as with a lot of macro lenses, but you've got these different focal ranges, or magnification should I say, in order to get your really up close macro shots, but also you can zoom out and focus to get your slightly further away shots, which gives you that good diversity, which I really like. So I just wanted to say really quickly that, as you'll see there, you've got the magnifications that this lens goes to, so you've got a nice variety there. And yeah, on the whole, a very good lens, I find. Nice, light, compact, easy to take around with you, and yeah, that's kind of what you want for macro photography, isn't it? And I think for me personally, I'd probably rather buy this lens than their other more expensive one they've just brought out, which doubles up as a kind of normal zoom lens as well as your macro lens. I mean, this one is about half the price, which is another bonus. But yeah, it's just so good to have something so lightweight and compact that you can take around with you to do your macro photography with. It's definitely a lot more lightweight and compact than the big manual one that I have for my DSLR anyway. And yeah, so far I'm really impressed with the image quality. So let's go and do some more walking and see if we can find some more flowers and insects and anything else that interests me. You know, what I think I love the most about macro photography is that it opens our eyes up to parts of nature that we often despise, maybe is the right word. So for instance, a lot of people don't like spiders, they're terrified of spiders, and myself included. I don't like spiders either. But when I'm out in nature doing macro photography, I suddenly become fascinated by them and my fear just completely disappears. The same goes for flies. So now, we all don't like flies. When they get into our house, they're a nightmare. The noise they make, the laying of eggs that we don't want, all that stuff. You know, nobody really likes flies. They are a nuisance. But when you're out doing macro photography, you suddenly start falling in love with them, which is really bizarre. But I've just been photographing a blue bottle, I think it was a blue bottle anyway, on this old bit of wood here that's been made into a bridge, and by doing macro photography I was able to see its eyes, I was able to see, you know, parts of its, you know, its mouth and the things that it does. I was also able to see lovely blue colours and stripes on its back, which were being illuminated by the sunlight, and then being able to capture that allows me to appreciate this tiny insect that most of us normally detest. And the same thing goes for snails. Like last year I spent a lot of time photographing snails and slugs during lockdown in my garden. And again, people don't normally want snails in their garden because it eats their plants and their vegetables and everything, and it's an absolute nuisance. But when you start doing macro photography, you start to really appreciate these things, and because you can start to see how they work, you can see, you begin to develop this like relationship with them when you're photographing them. And you start to appreciate these elements of nature that we, like I say, often detest. And I love that. I absolutely love that, because it allows us to connect with all aspects of nature and see this world that I think as humans we don't really understand, and therefore find it a nuisance. But yeah, macro photography just allows us to see these elements of nature that we normally just aren't even interested in. And I love that. And actually there's another fly just landed on there just now. So I'm going to try and photograph this one as well. But first, here's the photograph of the blue bottle that I was just speaking about. Well, today really has just been a quick whistle-stop tour into me trying to get to grips with this lens, but thoroughly enjoying it and uncovering a new world once again. Macro photography was something that I really enjoyed dabbling in last year during lockdown, so to be able to get out this year and try out this new lens and see what I can uncover again, it's a very enjoyable process, and yeah, it's just something interesting to be able to do, and like I say, to uncover a new world. And I think especially during the long summer days when potentially the light isn't as great for landscape photography as the rest of the year, being able to do something like macro during the summer and whatnot, it can just be an exciting way to keep your photography up and to uncover new hidden worlds. And to end today, I'm going to sit by this lovely thistle bush, as we began today talking about thistles. So I'm going to sit here beside this thistles and wait for the bees to come along and the hoverflies, and take some images of them before I finish. So as always, I want to say a huge thank you for watching. Yeah, macro photography, a very fun and mindful way to connect more deeply with nature. And so far, I'm very impressed with this little new lens for the Nikon Z series cameras. It's just nice to be able to have a new lens to try out and to be able to invest in a different style of photography again. It's always a new and exciting way to renew yourself and enjoy something a little bit different. I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again next time.